Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal podcast with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is a casual podcast where we talk about all the things you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize your real life, because we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
And I'm your host, Jess, a gifted channel for the spirit baby realm who facilitates deep soul healing by delivering divine messages and teaching you how to connect with your own spirit babies.
And I'm your other host, Natalie, an intuitive mentor and transformative healer and a new mom.
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts, watch our 100% unedited episodes on YouTube, and you can also follow us on Instagram at McJaguar and at Intuitively Natalie for more weirdo and woo-woo content.
And if you like this episode, please be sure to rate and review so that more people can unleash their weird with you.
We're back.
Bold of us to do this during Mercury retrograde.
It is. Oh my gosh. But we kind of had to. I have Mercury retrograde in my chart. So I figure
Oh yeah.
I get a blessing or
You
maybe
do.
not.
It's easier energy for you.
It is.
Like a redo.
Yeah. The Re's are great.
Yeah. We love the retrogrades in the natal charts.
Yeah. You know what? Here's why I love a retrograde though. Everybody's always like, go, 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 forward, forward, forward. Like there's only one way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Planets spin both ways, people. Or they appear to at least.
Yeah.
And it's a good, like, if we don't, whenever Mercury retrograde comes, it's like a hey. It comes like 4 times a year, right?
Yeah, 3 to 4, I think.
And I feel like society is over, like, oh my God. And they're trying to get like, okay, what can we do about this? Like, okay, back up your shit, make sure you are doing podcasts with lots of things plugged in.
Restart your podcast. Yeah.
Restart your podcast. But it's don't fear the planets. Don't fear that stuff, right? That's your own stuff. And if you are, maybe like look into like why does that, what my guides are saying is it gives you an opportunity to freak out.
Yeah. Get it out. We love freak out.
So like you can, or like the blaming, if you like to blame, or if you're in victim mode a lot and this comes, you're just like, oh my God, now the universe is after me. No, girl, the universe is not after you.
Unless you believe it is.
Unless you believe it is. And that would be scary.
Then it is.
Don't believe that. Come to the fun side where the universe is, what does Gabby Bernstein call it? It's on your side.
Oh,
it's got your back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Girl, the universe is linked arm in arm with me.
Correct.
We're doing this together.
You're driving the car.
You're driving the car. But yeah, I don't fear the retrogrades, but you know what? Who knows what will happen?
Right? I don't mind them. But being a Gemini, they do hit me pretty hard. Like I'll forget words or like stutter. Oh. Because my Mercury's also in Gemini. So there's that.
Is it like too much information coming at once?
Yeah. You just like trip over words, forget words. Jenna also is a Gemini, so we bicker.
Oh.
We or we'll like miscommunicate. We call it classic Hayesic miscommunications.
Yes. I'm an Aries, and so I'm just like, and so whenever it is retrograde, I do put on a little bit of a filter. I do put on a little bit of a like,
just a little bit.
Can you
take pause?
Yeah. Can you like sweeten that up, or can you like turn that down, or like, do you need to say that, or that kind of stuff? Because I know that words are powerful, right? Then
oh my God, they're so powerful,
and they can be. And how do I say this? Like sometimes you don't always say what you mean. Maybe that's part of Mercury retrograde, right? Like you're trying to communicate something. It's kind of like what they're showing me is like your trauma or your trigger is trying to come out and say something and it comes out like, bleh.
Yeah.
It's like that. What I really wanted to say was, I'm hurt by this.
Correct. Yeah.
But what I say is, you're annoying me. Or whatever,
use an I statement during Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Use an I statement. Have lots of chargers in your purses and cars and phones. Double check reservations for travel and get to the airport early.
Yes, right? way early. I know. The other day we had to take Maeve for her tongue tie release, and it's like an hour away.
Maeve in.
We had to take her in for her tongue tie. Mercury. I
was like, you changed her name. Got it. That's a good example.
No.
We had to take Maeve in. Got it.
Maeve in for her tongue tie release. It was like an hour away, so we had to wake up at like 4:30. And I was like, Jenna, we have to. Mercury's retrograde. Like, we can't we can't get stuck in traffic.
Oh yeah.
And it was like foggy and icy. Like it was treacherous getting there, but take it into account, extra time for travel because
Yeah.
it's just what it is right now.
I think actually when we were coming to visit you, we were kind of in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde and our plane turned around. An hour into our
Oh,
flight,
that's
it
right.
turned around, went back
That's
to
right.
Seattle. We were on the ground for an hour and then we took off because like some door wasn't latched correctly, which
Right.
is fine. I do not want to like fly out of a
Correct.
plane.
You'll get
Have you
sucked
seen
out. I
those
don't want to get
videos? Oh my
sucked out of a
God.
plane.
The worst way to die.
It's a quick death. It might not be the worst way to die.
Wait, what do you die? You just like die of lack of oxygen?
Or your neck will snap from the
Oh
pressure.
God. Talking to a nurse so casually about death. An ex-nurse, a
Well,
former nurse,
I still have my license, a
oh, you
retired
do,
nurse.
a retired nurse. Wait, how long is your license good for? Can you do some like a side hustle nursing?
If I wanted to, I could, and
Oh
I've
yeah.
talked about it with Jenna because she has like a big girl job now, like a Monday to Friday. So
Ooh.
if it ever becomes too much and she feels like she's missing out on Maeve's life, I've told her like I can go back part-time if you want to go back to like 3 12-hour shifts to get more
Oh,
work-life balance.
that's so awesome.
Yeah, I'm keeping it because Colorado has no requirements
Okay.
for like keeping it updated. I don't have to like
Uh-oh.
prove anything.
Colorado.
Right. I don't have to prove anything, so I'm just gonna keep it. You have to
Good for
not just
the residents of Colorado.
understand that if you come to Colorado,
Ask your nurse the last time they did a training.
yeah, I don't have to prove anything. So that's nice. You just have to pay like a fee every 2 years to re-up your license, but
It's fine. They
it's
collect
fine.
that money, you help
It's
the
like
people.
riding a bike. Yeah.
Well, so we have an honorary special star guest of our podcast, which is little Maeve. She's
Yeah.
sleeping,
She is
but she's
sleeping.
here.
She is here. I know. I don't remember when our last episode was.
Like June or something.
No. Was it?
Yeah, because I think our summer got busy and then we were gonna come back in the fall, you guys. But by then, yeah, we took a summer break, agreed
Mm-hmm.
upon summer break. We're like, yeah, because I was traveling to Alaska and I was doing a lot of stuff. And then when we came back, you were like, you were in baby mode. You were
Yes.
in cocoon. What?
Okay, so our last episode was around the Cancer new moon.
Shut up.
Today's the Cancer full moon.
Yeah, and I'm bleeding. You're welcome, everybody. You're
Oh,
gonna get
wait,
some good
your
channel divine.
cycle moved.
Mhm.
I love that for you.
30. I'm on a 35-day cycle right now.
Interesting. What's the significance of that?
I asked my guides, are like, it's the last one in a healthy cycle, right? It can be like from
Mm-hmm.
28 to 35. Because I always
Yeah.
get like nervous,
Uh-huh.
because
Right.
cycles feel so like 28 days, like I don't know.
Right.
But usually my cycle's around 30,
Mm-hmm.
31, 32, but today it's stretched out longer. But it's always been a little bit longer in January, you guys. I don't know why.
How weird.
I know.
And January is normally like a 3 paycheck month too. So maybe it's just
My guide just said you're more of an elliptical cycle,
oh yeah, it
right?
fluctuates.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. They're funny. They're funny today. They missed chatting and they love when Natalie's here. So
I'm so excited to get back to this. I really missed it. And I don't know when I'll be going back to one-on-one sessions. I'm gonna reevaluate in March and see what Maeve's schedule looks like. But
she's the boss now.
we are gonna continue to do the podcast. She is the boss. I'm worried her first word's gonna be no. I'm pretty sure it is.
That's a great first word.
Pretty sure.
She's like, I came in with boundaries. I know what I don't want, like,
What was your first word?
oh, I don't know.
Oh, mine was
Just my
apple.
mom. Stop it.
Apple. Yeah.
Wait, not mom or dad or anything
No,
like that.
apple.
Did you eat a lot of apples? Did they give you lots of
I
apples?
love apples are like one of my favorite fruits. I have a tattoo.
Oh, they're just showing me that you used to have an apple farm
Who
and
used to have an apple farm?
you did.
Me?
Uh-huh. And you used to grow like varieties.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
And this
love the
is when
shit out
you
of
kind of
apples.
lived with just you and animals. It's
Interesting.
a lifetime of just you and animals.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Were they earth apples?
What are earth apples?
Like, was it on Earth?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Were they space apples?
I'm like, there is a cosmic crisp.
My favorite.
You like talk to them, you talk to the trees. Yeah, that's just very,
Wow.
they're saying it was a very bucolic life.
I love that for me because in this life, I haven't watered my plants since July.
Your that energy is starting to tell me like all the benefits of apple. Like they're super into it. They're like,
They're
did you
so good
know?
for you. For your digestion. I love apple.
She's like this. She's like this. Is this energy? She's like coming forward.
Let me
And she's
tell
like
you all the
saying
way.
like she's cutting it open and she's saying like how it's a representation of the woman, all
Oh
this
my God.
beautiful
And this
stuff.
apple's cut open in my tattoo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like a representation of their seed and it's, life and just all this beautiful stuff. She
Oh, that
said
is
you learned a lot from the apples. Isn't that funny?
hilarious, Jess.
So pretty.
You don't know what your first word was?
No. Do you want
Does your mom?
podcast listeners? I feel like, should I?
Well, apparently it carries a lot of weight. I had no idea.
That's a good point. I'll ask my mom. I'm going to text her right now.
Yeah, text her and see. Let us know.
Let's see what she says.
Inquiring minds need to know.
Mom, what was my first word? Oh my God. She's going to be like, what? Let's see what she responds.
Yeah, she's gonna be like,
we should bring our moms on the podcast. Yes.
I don't know that. I feel like my mom would clam up.
That's a Cancer full moon suggestion.
It is. Are they ready?
Are we ready?
Are listeners ready for that?
Oh my God. At the same time. No, just kidding. Okay. Are we gonna like have a formal thing? We did it. We're gonna go into we're thinking we're gonna talk about 2022.
Yes.
Wrap that up.
Let's recap.
And we're gonna save 2023 info, downloads, all that stuff for a little bit later, more into the astrological new year. We're still in winter. We're still kind of digesting. I hope you guys are too.
Oh yeah. It does not feel like New Year. So if you didn't set any resolutions or intentions, like don't worry about it. It's not really the right time if it doesn't feel like the right time. Even though there's like collective energy supporting it if you do choose to do it.
Yeah. What I try to use that collective energy for, because it is so potent, is to really drive my integration. Like, okay, like everybody's like, I'm like, okay, how can I really use this forward momentum energy to like go inward?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, like here, my mom responded. Almost 44 years ago, you are testing my memory. I'm thinking it was mama or dada. Okay, that's pretty basic.
Oh, that's pretty boring. Jess.
But I probably am here to like work on my parents and the relationship and family.
There it is. There it is.
I did not own an apple farm. I still have ... dots from her. So we'll return to my mother.
Yeah, TBD.
TBD. Wasn't anything exciting.
That's really funny. I wasn't like a normal. I was a normal child though.
You weren't?
No, like what did my mom say? I started talking at like 9 months.
Wow.
And then she sat me down and said, we need to get rid of the bottles. And I said, okay. And then I picked out a cup at the store, and that was that with the bottles. We were done.
Don't you like, from my experience with spirit babies, how old are we talking here? 3s?
I know. I was less than 2. Yeah.
Okay. When I hear so much of that kind of stuff, like, how do I want to say this? Like kids acting older or advanced beyond that common thing. I'm going to say I 95% believe it's like a continuation of past life energy, right? Like the fact that your first word was apple, the fact that you're like, okay, I'm ready to switch. Like there's just like our souls continue.
They do.
Right. And so sometimes you're just like, cool, great. I got this. I know how to do this. Maybe you like passed away and came back quickly again.
Did I?
I don't know.
God, I don't know either. Oh, actually, yeah, I do know. I did, because I did a past life regression. I did. It was a pretty quick turnaround.
See? Left that farm and came right in.
Whew.
Maybe it was a farm in Texas even. Do Texas grow apples?
In my past life reverie, it was in the Southwest somewhere. So maybe it was a different, not the apple life, but maybe a different.
Oh, yeah. Well, we grow apples here.
I do love the Pacific Northwest. Maybe it's a sign.
Okay. Oh, my mom says, but I love when you used to say up with your arms stretched out to be picked up.
Mm,
Okay. She's probably gonna be like, why are you asking me this? But she answered.
that's
Yeah,
good.
up.
That
I don't
was
know.
what
That's
you
pretty,
like to say.
yeah, because I wanted to be picked up. And the
Yeah,
funny
you don't
thing
want to be on
was,
the ground.
so I like to be held with my head over my mom's shoulder so I could see. So really all she saw was my butt all day.
Uh-huh.
But like she wanted to hold me like a baby like this. I don't know that many babies like to be held like that.
Okay, they don't. And I recently
Yeah.
learned,
Okay.
especially if they're trying to fall asleep, which like newborns sleep for like 20 hours a day.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, if they're trying to fall asleep, looking at your face is too stimulating. They
Oh.
don't want to look at your face.
They're like, oh my God.
Right. Like,
Oh, so then they go this way, and then that's kind of when they fall asleep on your shoulder. Or that's when they sleep with their even with their face turned away from you. You're right.
yes, they like, yeah.
Oh,
Jenna says you're supposed to carry them like you don't care about them and they'll fall asleep.
like a sack of potatoes. Like, okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But like, why is it always displayed like this rocking cradle position? I guess so we can see it. It's total ego.
It is ego.
We want to see that
You're
baby.
also sabotaging your child's sleep. No big deal.
FYI. Okay. Sidetracked again. This
I
is what a podcast is like
in Mercury retrograde. Well, we were just going to talk about 2022 just
Oh,
to
that's right.
recap anyway. And then I did pull a
Yes.
card for 2023, which we can do at the end.
Okay. And then we're going to talk about our lessons learned because we
Mhm.
learned some and our favorite memories. These are all Natalie's suggestions. She's so cute at all this stuff. I was like, goals.
I'm not ready for goals.
No, we're not ready.
I'm still in it. I'm still in a cycle.
Okay. So 2022 recap.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons learned. What did you learn this year, Natalie? Is that too strong?
I'd say the biggest lesson, my guides are so funny. They're like that you can't manifest shit. But that's not,
Ooh.
that was kind of the biggest lesson. It's like, I really have to let go of the outcome. That was the
Mm,
biggest lesson in 2022.
mm.
Like, it doesn't matter how hard I'm trying to manifest something. If I have like signed up to experience it a certain way, that's what's going to come through. We were talking about this the other day. Like, you can't overprotect yourself from your lessons. Like, you can't protect yourself from your lessons.
Yes, because I was doing kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I was trying to put on y'all oils, crystals, spells, bubbles. I mean, imagine me walking around like that's how I felt, like walking around in bubble wrap. I was like, okay, I can go into this world, and
Yeah.
stuff would still pierce it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the hell? How much more protection can I put on? I was telling Natalie, and she's like, you can't protect yourself from your lessons, which I think is a good learning.
It is. And like once your initial anxiety about that subsides, you'll realize that like future you can handle future problems. So like whatever comes up, you can handle it in that moment.
Okay, so what they're showing me around this word manifesting and maybe some clarification is that you're still, how are they going to show this, you guys? This is them. You're still putting a quarter into the cosmic jackpot
Mm-hmm.
and you're still pulling the handle. So like you're at the game, you're gambling, you're ready, you're asking, you're like, I want to win. I want to see 777, right? So like you're still in it, but like sometimes you're not going to get that jackpot or you're going to get something different. Like it's still a roll of the dice, I guess. I don't know where they're showing me all this like gambling Vegas kind of energy, but
Because
it's
it's
still
a gamble.
yeah, I think it is. I
Yeah.
think because what they're saying is thank you. They're like, because you really don't know, and you're also not supposed to know.
It's true.
Your soul is supposed to calculate and take risks and calculate and take risk and calculate and take risks and make learnings from those experiences.
Right. Because you're like creating it as you go. And all you
Yeah.
can really do is manifest your reactions and your choices in the moment.
Yeah. And they're also saying, they're talkative today, guys. They're saying some of you guys say like the best or whatever, and this is what the best is for you at this time.
Which is check your expectations about what the best means.
Yes. And I always like to say, I was asked for ease.
Yeah.
I was asked for softness. I was asked for, and let it be easy, let it integrate easy. And they're kind of saying, and if it needs to be hard, they will override that.
But ease also, A, is a choice, and B, doesn't always look like what you think easy will look like.
Very true. And my guides are also saying, like, why do you want it to be easy?
Yeah, well, because
Because
I
there's like
like everything to
the
be easy.
well, because
Think of your
there's
struggle.
like they're saying like there's like ease, like they're saying like proper alignment ease, like a request for ease. And
Yeah.
then there's ease as a shield for hard. And if your ease request is a shield for not wanting to do something challenging, difficult, whatever, and your soul needs to actually overcome that challenge and feel greater success, are going to nudge you towards that.
Yeah. And you can always choose
Whew.
for it to be easy by not resisting. It's the resistance to what's happening that makes it
Yes.
hard. I learned that in labor.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you were resisting in labor, it became harder,
And also with
like all
like
over.
newborns having a witching hour. I don't know. I think I
Ooh,
thought we talked about this. Like in the evenings, they can get really fussy if they're overtired.
okay.
So then they're inconsolable because babies don't know that sleep fixes being tired.
Mm,
So what makes it hard is you resisting what's happening. What gives you
mm.
anxiety is you resisting what's actually happening. So you can choose for it to be easy, even though it's not what you think easy looks like or
Looks like,
should look
right.
like.
Right. Because like when I think easy, I don't imagine inconsolable baby.
Correct. Yeah. But ease is all about how you're handling it.
Because I'm
And
like, oh my gosh, this baby is crying and they can't console themselves. And like so
right.
much empathy comes forward.
Just
That becomes
flow
easy.
with what's happening, and then
Yeah.
it won't be hard.
Easier said than done.
That's what they say. It's a practice.
It is a
I'm
practice.
not good at it.
I think life is a practice all the time.
It is.
I'm always practicing, you guys.
Don't be hard on yourself. And with
Mhm.
all of this like new earth energy and all of that shit that's coming in, like go easy on yourself.
Is that a Gemini mug?
I made it.
That's so you did?
Yeah.
When?
If you watch this on YouTube, I'm showing Jess my mug. You know
Oh
those
yeah.
like ceramic painting places?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Jen and I went on a date a few years ago. We both made Gemini mugs.
Oh my God. Two Geminis on a date making matching Gemini mugs.
I know. Is it too much for you?
Too much. It's cute. It's so cute. Um, okay. I like those lessons. Those are good lessons.
I
That's a
did
good
not
learning.
learn them gracefully.
Yeah, you said you maybe used a couple of swear words at the hospital.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on an apology tour because I
Sponsored by.
did not go through labor gracefully. And I worked at that hospital, so I knew a lot of the people that were, caring for me.
Yeah.
And Jenna still works there, so she knows a lot of people. Definitely gonna have to go apologize for my reaction to labor. In my defense, I did like a pregnancy package with Lindsay Diamond, which we had
Oh
her on the
yeah.
podcast in season 2. She's
In my
amazing.
defense.
In my defense,
I did try to
um,
prepare.
I did everything to prepare,
Mhm.
and nothing went the way that I wanted it to go, or like visualized or manifested that it would go. But it all worked out being the best, even though it was super traumatic. It was still the best way it could have worked out. So like circling back to that
Yeah.
lesson, like the best, what
Yeah,
does
yeah,
that
yeah.
actually like? Don't attach any ideas to what that looks like,
Ooh.
because it wouldn't have looked like the best.
Yeah. So my question for you is, do we keep using that word in manifestation, or do we refine that even more to what we actually mean by that, right?
Um, yeah, I feel like if you think that you have too much expectation attached to the word best, then maybe find
Hmm.
a different word.
Yeah, I like that.
Hmm. What was the biggest lesson you learned in 2022?
The word that's coming up for me is grace.
Hmm.
On my cycle, Cancer, full moon, feeling very teary eyed, but like
Oh yeah, my cycle was on Cancer moons last year. I feel for you. They are tear fests.
Oh man, it's hard. Um, oh, you guys, I'm not even gonna look at Natalie. I'm gonna like look
Don't look
away.
at me.
um, shit, man, everybody's walking around with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Have some grace for people.
Mm.
Like, you do not know what people are carrying from today, this week, this month, this year, this life, last life, in their lineage, blah, 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah. So I have been doing so much healing and doing this work called internal family systems or in shamanic work, family constellations. And I've been going back in time and healing lineage work. But you guys, I've been healing like the fucking patriarchy and just all this big stuff, a lot of stuff around women and mothers and children and all this stuff. And, you know, my therapist is like, I'm like sobbing. And she's like, you're feeling the weight and the pressure of this on every single person. And then she'll have me step back so that I can just witness it. It's still horrible, but at least I'm not feeling the crushiness of it. And it's just what she kind of said to me was, you know, we're all compassionate. It's just what gets in the way of that. And so this idea of just returning to being as compassionate as I can and really, you know, giving people a lot of grace. Oh God, especially around the holidays, but just in general, just, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like I'm really trying to like move myself into this collective work and this collective energy and like how is what I'm doing affecting the collective? Like I'm really starting to move into that one consciousness feeling and it's really shifted how I see people. So just practicing that over and over again, especially with myself.
It starts there.
It does.
Let's be honest. If you can't do it for yourself, you can't do it for somebody else.
It's so true.
I love
We just
that. I
have to
think
learn
that's,
how to like take care of ourselves, you know?
you're doing some really big collective work. Yeah.
I mean, I use the word exhausted so much last year. I was
Yes,
just
that's
like,
the word of last year. It was exhausting.
yeah, because it's like we had like this 2 years of weird bubbleness. And then last year was like the hybrid weird year.
Because we're
We were
moving into
all,
such new energy. Yeah.
so it just was it was a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big lesson was just really having grace for people and really truly understanding like how much everybody is carrying around with them. And, you know, like we're all just trying to get home
It's a
at the
lot.
end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to take a moment of silence for Jess's cycle.
I know.
And the lessons it's brought forth. Bravo to you for coming on a podcast and talking about your feelings during your cycle during a Cancer moon. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Talk about progress. I mean,
Woo,
I think
that's
when I first
big.
started therapy, my feelings were like sad,
Right.
mad,
Not the whole wheel.
angry. No. My friend Jenny, she actually gave me a book of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is so
There's so
cool.
many.
Right. Because you want to get that. Am I mad? Am I frustrated? Am I hurt?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, what is it? You know,
Yeah.
getting down to the things. Um, I was listening to another podcast,
How
and they
dare
had a
you?
guest on. Because like I'm driving again now, so that's when I listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And she was kind of saying, like, you know, like we're here to have this soul experience, and like how we do that is through healing. And that also shifted because last year I was like, am I going to be healing forever?
Yes. The answer is
Yeah.
yes.
And so
Saddle
that
up.
really, it also changed my perspective of like, I probably have a very Western idea of healing, right? Like healing means
Mm-hmm.
something is broken and needs to be fixed, whatever. I want to introduce this concept of what if healing means that there is nothing wrong, broken, or anything that needs to be fixed.
It's true.
You love that?
That's freeing.
Isn't that freeing though? Because then, like, I just felt this jacket come off of me. It was like a little bolero. It was cute.
Mm-hmm.
I took it off because it's just like, oh, then I can just feel better. Then I can just
Right.
process things. Then I can just reorient myself in this world instead of with the weight that I've got to fix something.
Right. Like
It
there's
has
some
that
finish
turn.
line. There
Yes.
not Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I
Surprise.
looked for it.
I know. We all do.
I imagine myself running through it like, heal,
Right.
I
I'm
did that
done.
actually once on my weight loss journey. I like ran through it. I was like, I'm at my goal weight, right? And then
Woo.
I was like, I can do whatever I want, like as if I reached
Mhm.
some magical land. So
Right. It's all arbitrary. The rules are fake.
they don't tell you that.
No. I love that you listen to like deep podcasts. I started one about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
I watched that show of them where they're doing
The
like
tryouts?
the tryouts. Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I had friends try out because I was on drill team in Texas in high school. So a natural progression of a Southern woman.
Yeah, there's like a certain part of our society that is just fascinating to me.
Hmm.
This idea of this essentially the cheerleader, right?
Hmm.
That role of woman. What's the podcast about?
I think it's just about I just started it. Well, naturally, I started it and then may have started crying. So, like, we've literally just started
Welcome
it.
to the pop.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's
Pause.
just about like the origination of it.
Oh,
Um, what is it called? It's called like something about America's women or America's something. Because, you know, they call the Cowboys like
what?
America's team,
Oh yeah.
right?
Kind
I guess that
yeah.
all kind of started, or like cheerleaders in football started with the Dallas Cowboys. Don't
I think so.
I could be very wrong, but I think my little brother was telling me this because he listened to the podcast, and he said that like the owner of the Cowboys wanted to highlight the women of Texas because he thought they were the most beautiful. And so
Oh,
like that's why it started.
that's kind of what the show felt like. Like it was like part beauty contest
It's pageanty.
and they had to like look good in the uniforms and like fill everything out and
Welcome to drill team. Yes, I was on drill team in high school.
and then
It
on
was
top of
just like
that,
that.
you have to be athletic and dance and be able to do all the things. I mean,
Mhm.
I remember when I worked at the school newspaper in high school and I was covering sports photography. I said, I want to do a story on the cheerleaders. And everybody like laughed at me. And I was like, that's a sport, you guys. And so I did this
Oh, it's a
whole
sport.
interview
Yes.
because I had a lot of friends that were cheerleaders, and I talked about their practice schedule, compared it to the football, da da da. They travel with the team and everything, and it was
Mhm.
like this big shift of like I have way more respect for them.
It's
Always wanted
insane.
to be one.
Have you watched Cheer on Netflix?
Hell yeah!
Oh my
I've
God, I love
wanted
it
to
so
be a
much.
cheerleader.
It makes me feel so homesick.
I wanted to buy those KP shoes where
Uh-huh.
you could put your school colors. Oh my god, obsessed! But I don't know
I
why.
love it.
I was never a cheerleader. I did gymnastics.
I think it's just because, you know, people always want to belong to something, and there's such an identity with a team sport.
That's not me.
Yeah, well, I always think I want to be. What did my little brother said? My little brother said once, like, you know, if we were in a group of people, some people naturally gravitate and be the leader. Like Jenna would probably naturally gravitate and be leader. I would probably naturally try to boss people around. And my little brother said that he would never be the leader, but always be suspicious of them.
Oh, by the way, I got to meet Natalie's little brother, and hi, Keegan. I adore him, and
He's
that
so
this is a
funny.
very Keegan statement.
Oh my
Yes,
God. Hilarious.
and I could see him saying that with his little
Always
one.
be suspicious of the leader. And I've done an escape room with him and I have seen this in action.
That's good advice, Keegan. That's good advice. How'd you get there?
Mhm.
Who do you know?
Uh,
That would be one of my favorite memories, though, of 2022 was meeting you and
oh my
meeting
gosh, that was
your
so
family and meeting
fun.
Jenna and everybody. Yeah, that was fun. People were like, "You have never met her before in
No.
person?" I know,
Internet
and I got to
friends.
see her when she was pregnant. I know you're my first internet friend. Emma, is that right? I mean,
Same.
besides Dwayne Fish, we already talked about him, but like, I think we talked about this
We
before.
did talk about him. I
So
don't think we
yeah.
talked about him on the podcast, though.
Oh,
That was in real life.
I don't know. It's all the same,
It's all
people. I
blurring
don't.
together.
I have no makeup on today. I do have these cute earrings on
What
though.
is makeup?
What
What is
is
showering?
Talk to me about showering. I hear this lament from mamas. What can we do about this?
I'm probably just gonna have to shower when Jenna gets home from work. Like just planning it out that way, not having an
Yeah.
expectation about when it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Because you want to have a nice long, you don't want to be like a, right?
I am not a quick shower girl. I am a long, luxurious shower girl.
I remember my had an employee who had a baby and she
Hmm.
showered with the baby like in the bathroom. She was a single
Yeah,
mom with like the curtain kind of half open and it was in its little thing. And I was
yeah.
like, I mean, you got to do what you got to do
You do. You really do. Yeah, we have a bouncer if I really get desperate, but
because you can't leave her.
no, and she really likes to be held. Like
She's all in the shower.
the second you put her down, it's chaos.
Maeve, get
Yeah.
my back.
I did my makeup one-handed for the first time. Feel like a mom.
Ooh. Yeah. Any tips or tricks for our mamas out there?
Life is not gonna be the way it was ever again.
Oh, I meant about makeup, but
So
okay.
saddle up with that.
I meant about putting on makeup, but also
Oh, I don't have makeup tricks. Yeah. I do not have
eyeliner
makeup
stamps.
tricks. Yeah.
Eyeliner.
Whatever makes it easier.
Embrace the unevenness now.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was a good memory, was meeting you and seeing you. I guess I feel like I already know you. Like I had probably already seen you. I probably already have in some other lifetime, but I want to say like it was cool in that sense, but it wasn't like drastically different.
It was very comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, like it was almost like because we've only interacted with a screen. I think I've laughed a couple of times. Like Natalie posted a picture and I was like, oh, that's what your legs look like.
Yeah.
So it was like cool to see like the other half of you. And then I came out in October.
You came out in September and then again October for the baby shower. Maeve's party.
Shower. Yeah, Maeve's party, and got to meet more family and just
You met
so
everybody.
much fun. I met everybody. I met the whole crew.
Everybody.
So it was fun. That was a good memory.
I think that weekend is probably my favorite memory from 2022.
That was a good party. It was so fun. That chicken chili that your mother-in-law made.
Oh my God.
I've been like,
so
I just need to
good.
message her and be like, what is the recipe?
It's really easy.
And just playing games and just
Everybody meshed so well. You know, it's always
Everybody
risky when you bring a
did.
bunch of different people together. Like Jenna brought her friends from high school, and like I had friends come, and our family was there, and everybody kind of meshed really nicely.
We did. And they had lots of gifts to open, and it was fun. And then we did a little candle lighting ceremony.
Yeah.
For little baby Maeve, who told us that she only needed a tea light.
She was a liar. Turns out Maeve's a liar.
Turns out, well, to be clear, I don't know how much we want to talk about this, but when you're giving birth, maybe I can talk about it in the general sense. There's lots of different ways that things could go.
It's true.
And sometimes we only spend time visioning the best part.
The best.
And we don't spend time visioning on other things that could maybe happen. And so what I learned, I think, from your birth experience was let's envision both, right? Like if you want to have a home birth, let's also envision what would a hospital birth look like, right? Let's also envision like what happens if something needs to shift or change, because a lot of times we get tunnel vision in our manifesting is what they're saying to me.
Yeah. And it's the resistance that makes it hard.
And your baby also has a say in the entry and in that process. So did you ever ask her how she wanted to come into this world?
No, because she wasn't talking to me.
Oh.
And
really the whole time?
Working really closely with Lindsay Diamond through like the birth portal.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought let's circle back. We're circling back.
He told you it was a Mercury retrograde podcast. Okay.
We'll get there. Working really closely with her gave me some really good insight, because I think sometimes as a healer, you know, you think that you should just be able to like intuit for all of these things for yourself. And honestly, you're just like too close. So even healers need healers. So I worked really closely with her, and she gave some like excellent insight into like, okay, well, Maeve's energy was too big to come in. She was like, have you felt like she hasn't been around, or like you haven't been communicating with her? And I was like, yeah, not at all. She's like, yeah, she's not really in her body. Like she's not really there. So like, of course you're not feeling her come in. And it's true. Like I did not feel her the whole time. Wow. What talking about? I already forgot what we were talking about.
Lindsay Diamond, getting yourself support.
It is completely lost on me. I don't remember what we were talking about.
I'm picking up baby brain waves.
Yeah. Oh, if I
is
ever
that real, baby
Maeve,
brain?
Yes.
Oh, have you ever asked Maeve
how she wanted to come in?
Yeah.
No, and because I don't think I would have gotten an answer. I couldn't ask her anything really.
Like this. Ah!
Yeah, she wasn't like communicating with me. Now she does, but before she was not.
Intuitively, she communicates with you now.
Yeah.
What is she? Is she like full on sentences? Is she like words, pictures? Like, what's it like?
I think it's just needs. Like I just pick
Mm,
up on her needs.
hmm
I don't I think I can't discern the differences between her cries. Some people say, like certain cries mean I'm hungry or I'm wet, but I haven't picked up on that. I just kind of know what's wrong with her.
You're still learning the system, the operating system.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. They're saying like, how do you get those messages from Maeve in the same place that you get your other intuitive messages, or in the same way or same area? So I guess what I'm saying is like, did like another like mother intuition column pop up? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For like receiving her stuff and then receiving spirit stuff.
I think it's all coming through the same channel.
Okay.
It feels very solid when it comes through just like intuitive hits. They feel very solid. I guess Maeve's throwing a fit downstairs.
How do you know? Are you getting texted or you're seeing?
Yeah, Jenna texted me and was like, "You almost done?" I was like, no, we're not. She'll be okay. She's not hungry. She just ate.
You're almost done.
See, living life, you have to really adjust postpartum to
Yeah.
like living life in 3-hour increments.
Yeah, that's a good. So then, and then we have to feed her, and that's half an hour to an hour, or what?
Oh my God, yes. Because okay, again, going back to her tongue tie,
Yeah.
it took forever. Feeding was really hard for her. We're still like relearning now that she's got all this range of motion with her tongue. Yeah, she does that now. Um, but yeah, it was really, really hard for her. So it would take like an hour. And then it's not like an hour from 3 hours from when she's done feeding. It's like 3 hours from when she started feeding that she'll probably be hungry again. So it's like every third hour having something attached to your boob. It's a lot, especially
It
the
is
first
a
2 weeks.
lot. Yeah, and so much just, and then you're like what we talked about, like you're so sleep deprived, and like some people do all right with that, but some people do not,
We
right?
did
Like
not
really.
do well for the
Yeah,
first
I mean, I
couple
don't
weeks.
think anybody really does well, but I guess maybe some people can like power through it, but I feel like that's a no for me.
My midwife said, postpartum, you're like a superhero.
Hmm.
Like, so your hormones keep you from hallucinating from the lack of sleep.
That's good.
Yeah. So
Could
it
you
keeps like
imagine?
supportive energy.
We do not need
So
hallucinating
that's nice.
postpartum women. No, thank you.
No, that's why though. You have all of these things that your body is doing to keep you and the baby alive.
It really is about survival for the first couple of weeks, huh?
Oh my God. Yeah. Like my mother-in-law set up a meal train and that was super helpful
Nice.
until we figured out that I couldn't have gluten or dairy. And then it got more complicated. but,
Are
but
you doing
initially it was
okay with all
great.
that? You're like
I'm
figuring out what to eat and
Yeah, and it's not hard because like a few
yeah.
years ago I did like strict paleo and then I did
Yeah.
like vegetarian for a
Okay.
couple of years. So it's not a hard transition to cut out gluten and dairy. And
Do you
how we
feel better?
knew, I feel so much better.
Yeah,
I think Maeve really knew what she was doing,
I know.
cutting that out for us. I'm like pooping more regularly. I don't know if that's TMI, but that's never happened in my whole life. So
Here we are, folks.
it's a really good thing for your body if you ever want to try it. Cut out
I
gluten
love a
and
good
dairy for a
poop.
little while.
I mean, like I am like, good job, body.
Right? You feel so accomplished.
Please tell me that other people think this way too.
I don't know how you couldn't. It's a
Yeah,
release.
it is. It is.
Hmm.
Okay, so you're pooping regularly, which is great.
Yeah, it feels really good. But okay, so we thought we were killing her for the first
Oh,
like 24 hours home after we got home
yeah.
from the hospital. Because spoiler alert, I had to give birth in a hospital. I talked all
Spoiler
last
alert.
year about home birth and it's going to be quick and easy. Y'all, it was the worst night of my life. But
Mm.
she's cute. And then I never got colostrum. Like you have to wait for your milk to come in.
Yeah.
They say around like day 3, but it's honestly variable for everybody. So my
Okay.
milk didn't come in till like day 4.5. And even
Okay.
then it wasn't a lot. Like some people are blessed with an oversupply. I was not. You
Yeah.
have to like continuously pump or feed, which is why they cluster feed, is to like bring in the
Mm.
milk and build up your supply.
Oh,
But I like wasn't making colostrum for some reason when like immediately post birth. So like our
which is that
second,
more yellowy milk, right?
it's the yeah,
Kind of
it's like the
not even
first.
milk, right?
It's
Yeah.
not even. It's like sticky, really sugary, good stuff for
Yeah.
them. Really good
Yeah.
stuff for them. I made like a
Isn't it
little
like,
bit.
okay, you made a little bit. Okay.
I made a little bit. I think she was fine in the hospital. And then the second night home, she slept for like 5 hours straight. And Jen and I were like, should we wake her up to feed her? And we're like, fuck no, like she's sleeping. Why would I wake her up to feed? Turns out you're supposed to. And also, not normal. She she was just lethargic
Oh
because she
my
wasn't
God.
getting enough to eat.
Like,
Oh my God. And then we had a
how are we supposed to
breakdown.
know this?
Right? Jenna's really good friends with our lactation consultant. She's like
Okay.
one of her former employees. So
Okay.
texting her and communicating with her, having that resource was how we figured this out.
Oh, wow.
They're like, oh, she's really lethargic and like starting to turn yellow because she's not getting enough food. We
Oh
both
my
had a breakdown.
God.
It was really terrible. But the way that she resigned
Oh.
to it, Maeve was a real trooper. She didn't cry a lot about it, you know, probably because she couldn't make tears.
Ooh, I felt like that breakdown brought you guys closer.
Oh my God. Yeah. We both had a huge breakdown. Like, oh my God, we're ignorantly killing our daughter. We had no idea.
Right.
But you can buy donor milk. So again, like circling back, we bought donor milk at the pharmacy. You don't need a prescription. You can just buy it. But
Oh, at the
after,
pharmacy. Any pharmacy?
I think so, it's super
Whoa.
expensive. It's like $33 for 4 ounces. It's insanely expensive. But
Oh,
until my milk came in, it got us through until I was producing enough to help feed her because I still don't want to do formula yet. It's fine if that's the
yeah.
way it goes. Universe, again,
Yeah.
detaching from the outcome, but
There.
that's what's best. But after her first donor milk, she popped up with this huge rash on her chin.
Mm,
Huge,
ooh, ooh,
huge
ooh.
rash. And it was from dairy, come to find out, from lactation consultant. And we have a chiropractor that does like body work, energy work. And she also confirmed like cut out dairy and see if it goes away. A week later, it cleared up on its own and she stopped being so fussy.
Yeah, and like she had a little rash on her chin, and I've heard that's where hormone stuff shows up, which I'm sure
Yes.
there's like hormones in the milk or something.
Yes, from the dairy
Yeah, yeah,
something.
or dairy, whatever. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
I know. Almost killed her. And then we gave her a dairy allergy. It was rough. First 2 weeks
Two
were
for
rough.
two on parenting.
It was really moms of the year. It was really rough first 2 weeks, guys.
So we started saving for her therapy classes, and she'll be ready to go because of that milk experience when she was 2 days old. Oh
The trauma. Yeah. Oh,
my God.
she's still alive though. She's crying. I don't know if you can hear her, but
Let me see.
we've made it this far.
I can't hear her.
Oh, good. It's time for her to eat again. So
Okay. So that's the end of our podcast, folks.
no, is it? No, no. I thought milk. We're fine. We can go for a few more minutes. I don't know. Should I talk about the birth experience in this one? It is the Cancer full moon. I think maybe there will be some like tying up of loose ends energetically if I talk about it. I can give a Cliff Notes version
Yeah, it's really up to you.
because there's not a lot to go into about it. I've like there's so much about it that was such like an internal healing process for me.
Yeah.
But I would want to know. If I was following along on someone's journey, I would want to know how their birth went.
Yeah, because I think it's good because people were all up in my DMs like, did she have the baby?
I know because I don't want to post her on social media. I really don't.
Yeah. So I was like, Natalie, people want to know. So I think, yeah, whatever you want to share. It's always an honor to listen to somebody um, go through this experience and talk about it. And it's very unique.
Yeah. And if you had a traumatic birth experience, maybe put up some protections because I don't,
Yeah.
unless you want to be triggered, because it was very traumatic.
Yeah.
Um, so I had been manifesting the whole pregnancy, obviously, like ease, like we were talking about ease. It's going to be quick. It's going to be easy. She's going to
Yeah.
come early. Like I really felt like, of course, me creeping astrology charts, like she was going to come mid-November. Like I really, really thought she was. And I got a lot of like clarification. Like she showed you a blue triangle and like those were in the charts I was looking at. And, come to find out those are potentials, but ultimately the decision's not up to me.
Yes.
So, um, I God, I did so much releasing around all of my expectations for birth and how it was supposed to go. There was so much grief in the
Mm,
last month because it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, or was trying to
yeah.
visualize or manifest into existence. There was so much grief. And Lindsay picked up on a lot of like collective work being done. And like
Mhm.
it didn't matter how much I tried to manifest the perfect birth or like the
Oof.
ideal birth, because it was always going to go the way that it went because it had to
Yes.
for collective work.
Yes. Do you remember what I said to you at Maeve's little circle?
No,
I
what
said,
did
I
you
hope
say?
you have the birth that you need to have.
Oh my God.
I know. And I'm chilled because
Yeah.
as that came out of my mouth, I was like, what does that mean,
Oh
everybody?
shit. Oh shit.
Uh,
Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means
this.
it means that I went 41 weeks and 3 days. I did
Give you an
everything.
award for that.
I seriously, it was so uncomfortable. Well, not as uncomfortable as birth. I take it back. Um, I did everything I could think of to induce. She would not budge. I had prodromal labor, which is like practice labor,
Okay.
for weeks
Ooh.
leading up to it. It's like you think real labor is going to start with your first
Mhm.
pregnancy. You don't really know what it feels like.
Mhm.
So you're kind of on edge. Like, is this labor? Is this labor?
Mm.
My contractions are regular. Is this labor? And, it never turns out to be. So the day before my water broke, my mom was here, Jenna was working. I was like sitting on the ball, doing all these stretches, walking stairs, curb walking, like pumping to stimulate contractions. Like I did all the things
Oh.
and nothing like kept the contractions going. Like nothing really brought me into sustained labor. So like, oh, fuck it. Like I'm just gonna resign to whatever
Yeah.
happens. And
Yeah.
then Jenna worked a full day. Like I said, we go to bed around, I don't know, 9:30, 10. I woke up at 1:45 and felt a pop. It's like I
Oh.
woke up first because, initiating labor,
Oh.
the baby's brain sends a message to the mom's brain that says like, okay, now it's go time. Like that's how it starts. It's the baby.
Whoa. It's the
So
first connection. I love
yeah,
that.
so I woke up and then
Oh
I
my
felt a
God.
pop and then
Ah, what do you mean felt? What did it feel like? Felt a pop.
it feels like a pop. Like I don't know how else to describe it. It feels like a pop. And I was like, oh shit. And I woke up Jenna. I was like, Jenna, I think my water just broke. And of course we're laying in bed. So I'm like, I had to hold it in so it didn't like ruin our sheet.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did because when we turned on the light, there was meconium in the water, which is
AKA.
poop.
Yay,
It's their
poop.
first poop. And I mean, it's impossible to tell how long it's been in the water.
Mm,
And it can be a risk to the baby's health. I'll say that. Like,
yeah.
so we called my midwife. Midwife was not comfortable doing a home birth because we just don't know. Like it's probably going to be fine, she
Hmm.
said, but we just don't know with meconium how long it's been in there. Has she already aspirated it? Like has it gone
Right.
into her lungs? Can cause infection. She's like, I would just rather you be in a more monitored environment.
Okay.
And of course I sobbed because I'd never wanted to give birth in a hospital. I hate hospitals. The only time I want to be there is when I'm getting paid. Like there was so much trauma around having to give birth in a hospital. And it ended up being, quote unquote, the best.
Yeah. Big quotes, you guys. Big
Big
quotes.
quotes. So we get ready. Um, and even though I wasn't having contractions, labor
Hmm.
did not start with my water breaking. It did not start. And it doesn't always. You imagine like, oh, all of a sudden it's game on right when your
Yeah.
water break. No, not necessarily. It
Yeah.
still didn't start. I wasn't having contractions. They also don't tell you that you leak amniotic fluid for like hours.
After the water breaks, like
Oh
it's
my
like
God. Yeah,
continuing to
like
drip out.
it can, oh, not drip, gush. It
Like you would
can
sneeze and it would come out.
gush.
I went,
Yes, during contractions, it would gush. So since we
were
were
there a lot
already,
of pairs of pants?
I sat on a towel
Oh
and
yeah.
then they give you prison panties, like we call them in the hospital, and like
Oh
huge pads.
yeah. Oh,
So
when you put those on.
yes, immediately upon getting there. Pants are not a thing in the hospital. So
Especially with the baby coming.
no, we do not wear pants.
Prison panties on. Okay.
Prison panties, yes. So since we were already 41 weeks, it didn't matter that labor hadn't started. If we went to the hospital, they were gonna admit us.
Ugh.
Because if you're not 40, like if you're not quote unquote overdue, They won't let you come up until real labor has started.
Okay. But if you're
But
overdue.
I was overdue and there was meconium, so there's a risk. So they want baby to be born within 24 hours of your water breaking.
And you
I,
had to like process all this grief and everything while getting your ass to the hospital.
yeah, and luckily it's like 5 minutes away, and like
Oh,
we
that's
weren't
good.
planning for a hospital birth, so we didn't have anything ready. We did not
Like
pack a hospital
pack.
bag,
Oh
nothing.
God.
And we're like running on 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of
Yeah.
sleep. So we're like not thinking clearly, like, I don't know what I'm going to need. I don't know what I'm going to wear. Like, I had no idea. I don't know what I need to bring.
That would
Oh,
stress me the fuck
it
out.
was so stressful.
Okay, so
Lots of tears.
FYI tip, pack a hospital bag, even
Regardless.
if you don't plan to go.
Back on hospital bag,
Burning.
please. Oh, so we get there, they admit us, they take us up to the room. And I'm glad that we went early. The midwife said we could wait for real contractions to start if we wanted to, but I honestly needed time to settle in
Yeah.
and acclimate to the environment, to the
Yeah.
fact that this was happening
Yeah.
without it being go time.
Yes.
Like I
Yes.
needed
Yes.
time to acclimate
Yeah.
and create a safe environment
Oh,
for
good.
birth to happen. So we got there really early, like 3 a.m. something, and labor hadn't started. I met the OB, and it was
Okay.
actually wonderful because I don't trust doctors. Just
Yeah.
it's like a life rule. So the OB came in, who was on call, and the first thing she said was, "What are your goals?" And I have
Mm.
never heard a doctor say that to a
Wow.
patient, and
That's
that made me
amazing.
feel really safe. I came in with a printed out birth plan. Of course, I'm like, no interventions or little interventions, but I'm a reasonable person. If emergencies happen,
Yeah.
it needs to happen,
Wait, did
whatever.
you already was this birth plan for home?
No, it was like a just in case. It came with the birth course that I did.
Oh, so you had one for hospital just in case.
Yes. And I don't know if I've shouted out that birth course, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to because it's very
Okay.
heteronormative. And I also think it's bullshit.
There you go.
So after my experience, I think it's bullshit. So I printed out this birth plan, brought it in. Everybody respected it. Everybody was super nice and
Yeah.
understanding. Again, I don't know if it's because I worked there or Jenna worked there. We had
Mm.
like rapport established with so many people, but
Yeah.
it was really comforting. And then by the afternoon, labor still hadn't started. So they gave me Cytotec, which is not like it's a pill that you put under your tongue that they actually give for miscarriages to
Mm.
help pass the tissue. It just thins
Mm.
your cervix. It doesn't actually like cause contractions.
Okay.
So it thinned my cervix. I took it around like 2, and then I took like a second dose a little bit later. Nothing was happening. Yes.
Question. Thin cervix. So the cervix like opens up and the head comes out. You guys should watch this on YouTube. It's
You should
amazing.
watch it on YouTube.
What is thinning? The
The
tissue?
cervix. Yeah. So
So
it doesn't open up like you would think, like something squeezing through. It thins.
oh, really?
Yeah, the uterus actually
Which then
pulls
becomes
it
more
up.
stretchy.
Yeah. So it becomes like paper thin so the baby can come through.
And so usually the body has chemicals in itself that'll do that. And this
It'll
pill
be like a
mimics that.
hormonal cascade that starts labor. Yeah. But like for some reason that did not happen for me. So
Whoa.
I
That's so cool though.
augmented labor.
Yes.
Yes, with
Yeah.
this Cytotec. They wanted to augment
Okay.
labor because they wanted her to be born in case she was in distress.
Okay.
Everything pointed to her not being, but
Yeah.
it was just because there was meconium in the fluid. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm a reasonable person. I'll take it. Even though
Yeah.
I came in with a no intervention plan.
Right. Because that would help her come out
Yeah.
faster, sooner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nothing was happening. And of course, you're like anxiously waiting for labor to start. So you're not sleeping. We weren't sleeping. We were running off 2.5, 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Sent everybody home. We were going to try to nap. The second I closed my eyes, labor started. The second. It was 5:30 p.m.
She's like, ready?
Yeah. And it was intense. And I
Whoa.
never had the gradual like build up of like
Mm.
contractions getting
Oof.
closer and closer together. It's like once that first contraction hit, they were like 2 minutes apart. And I wanted to go through it unmedicated, right? Called everybody back. My midwife, my mother-in-law, my mom, everybody was in the room. I could not handle it. I labored for 5 hours.
With all them there?
Yeah. And me screaming. So like I
And
said,
what's everybody else doing? Just watching you?
they were talking, providing
Talking.
support. There's a lot of like hip pressure. There was a lot of
Okay.
like holding and helping and
Like your
massage
mom,
and
your mother-in-law, people would like rotate in
yeah,
and do that.
lots of laying of hands. Yeah.
Was there
And
anybody that you're like, get out?
no, because you're too in it.
Okay.
to give a shit about who's in the room. I pooped
Okay.
at eye level for people. Like, you're too in it to care.
Third mention of poop on the podcast, just if you're keeping track, the poop counter is up at 3, everybody.
I know.
I learned that you can poop in birth, and somebody was like, yeah, they just like change the pad right underneath you. Cause like when I watch a lot of birth videos and you see the anus, like, woo, gets just as big.
As big as a
And
Coke
I
can.
was like, oh, I never knew that.
I know. Well, surprise, you will probably poop in labor.
Okay. Get over it. Move on.
Get over it. It's the least traumatic thing that will happen to you.
Exactly. Poop in front of your family. Next.
So I labored for 5 hours and wasn't progressing.
So that means every 2 minutes you were having a contraction for 5 hours.
5 hours.
Holy crap.
And I was like, I reached a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
So now it's like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I asked for an epidural.
Yeah.
And, you know, my midwife's like, maybe we leave the room and give them 10 to 15 minutes. I was like, no, I made up my mind. Give me the fucking epidural.
Yeah.
So they call anesthesia in. He was there in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Normally kicks everybody out of the room, but Jenna knew him.
Okay.
And had words with him a couple weeks prior. But she had to put him in his place.
Okay. Good.
So he let her stay. She got to stay. And honestly, after contractions, I had a lot of fears about epidurals after working in healthcare and seeing all of like potentials, the worst of the worst that can happen from an epidural. So I was terrified of having something in my spinal column, but it tickled in comparison. It felt good in comparison to the contractions getting the epidural. And it's a pretty big needle.
So it goes into your spine. It doesn't stay there, does it?
Yeah, it's a catheter, not the needle. The needle doesn't stay in, but a catheter stays in so they can continuously infuse the lidocaine.
Into your spinal column?
Yes, at a certain level so that it's only numbing this like nerve path down. So it's only like, which is why they get catheters and stuff, is because you can't pee anymore.
You'll pee or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can't feel you can feel pressure, I think you said, right?
You can feel pressure. It was actually like, it's a partial epidural that they do so that you know when it's time to push.
Right.
So I could still move my legs. They just felt like they had heavy, heavy blankets on them.
Wow.
It was weird.
But by that time you're in the bed for epidural time.
Yes, you do not get up out of bed. And you need help turning from side to side. So I was able to catch like 40 minutes of sleep after getting the epidural. And then like my body was so fatigued, it wasn't progressing. I wasn't dilating enough. So getting the epidural actually allowed me to dilate enough for baby to descend.
Oh, good. Ooh,
yeah.
That feels good.
Yeah, it felt so great for like 4 hours until it didn't. And then the pushing, because you're in a hospital setting, they don't let you like labor the baby down, breathe the baby down. It's like once you hit 10 centimeters, it's time to push. And since you can't really feel anything, that's just the way that it goes down with an epidural. They tell you when to push. It's like coached pushing.
Okay.
But you push with contractions. So my nurse said like, oh, we're going to turn down your epidural for pushing. It's, like, oh, we're about to push. Everybody was so cavalier about pushing. Like, oh, this is it. And then this is what you're doing and it's going to be fine. And this is what happens next. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 2 hours. Worst pain I've ever been in my whole life.
Whole life. And it could have been more because this was turned down, but not off.
Oh, I think it might have been off. And then I was convinced it was off because I had full mobility. I was moving. I was on my knees. I was on my hands and knees. I was leaning over the back of the bed. Like there was no decreased sensation. I felt everything. And, recapping this with Lindsay from an energetic standpoint, she said that it was because her energy was so big. It was like overriding the epidural and amplifying my nerve endings.
I can see it. I've totally asked not to feel it.
Don't feel it. Please don't feel it.
I'm looking at your face and you're looking at me like, what
the fuck?
Yeah. Like
I was pissed. I kept saying.
Yeah. It looks like my guys are saying people need to do a better job of describing this pain.
Yes. Oh my God. It was
more honest about it.
Excruciating. I'm not going to lie. Like it was terrible. And I kept asking my midwife, or Jenna and my mom, I was like, why am I feeling it like this? I got
Yeah.
an epidural. I made the decision that was difficult to get the
Yeah.
epidural. Why am I feeling it? So
Right.
in the moment, it was so traumatic because I did not understand what was happening. I didn't understand why it was so painful. It was 2 hours of pushing because it wasn't my body necessarily doing it
Right.
naturally.
And you're on your back, which is not in a desirable position for
I
them to
was
come
moving
out, right?
around.
You were
And actually, at the end, I did deliver on my back because it was the most effective
okay
for me.
for you. Yeah.
But yeah, they
What do you
brought
mean
a
you were
mirror.
moving around like on your little hospital bed? You like got on
Yeah,
your knees and stuff?
I was on my knee. I was leaning over the back of the bed. Yeah, they
In your contractions, like crying. I just
mhm.
it's so hard to see you like
It's
that.
awful. Jenna is so traumatized from my birth because, mind you, it's been like 12 hours at this point. It's been a long labor, and I'm exhausted. I was exhausted. I was like, I have nothing left to get. I haven't slept in over
Mm.
24 hours. Like, how am I supposed to do this? But like, there's literally only one way through. You can't not give birth.
Like
Like,
gonna come back
everybody's
tomorrow.
I know everybody's like, you're so brave. You did such a good job. And I'm like, I literally had no choice. I don't think that's brave. There's only one way out.
I didn't want to leave with a baby's head between my legs.
I was resigned to it. Um,
But you can still be brave even if you were resigned to it, right?
the OB asked me to stop screaming. So it was
Wait,
not great. It was
were they like,
not graceful.
can you
Yeah.
stop screaming?
They're like, I need you to stop screaming. Yeah.
No. That
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. The most
wow.
traumatic part about it, aside from the pain, was they brought a mirror because
Oh.
some women want to see like the baby's head come out or whatever. I was so hyper fixated on what I saw in the mirror that I didn't even like there's pictures of Maeve on my chest right after she came out and
Yeah.
I'm crying and everybody's like, "Oh, that's a beautiful photo." And I'm like, "I am crying because of what I'm looking at in the mirror. I am not crying because there's a baby on my chest." I was so traumatized by what I saw. I had like what is it, a second degree tear or something, and of course the epidural wasn't working, so I felt all the stitches. Like it was horrific for me.
Are we talking like blood? Like what? Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and
I
then
know you
like
described it as a
because my
war
labor
zone.
was so long, my
Mm.
uterus was too fatigued to contract immediately afterwards, so I started to hemorrhage and I
Oh.
lost like 850 milliliters of blood. They measured it because they catch it, they have to chart it, which is like 150 shy of being called hemorrhage. So I did hemorrhage after. They had to do the fundal massage, which is appropriate if you're hemorrhaging. They had to start Pitocin because my uterus wasn't contracting on its own because it was so fatigued.
To get out your placenta.
No, to stop bleeding.
Okay, so then the placenta came.
It was after the placenta
So
came. Placenta came out quick.
what is when you're hemorrhaging? Like what's hemorrhaging in there?
So
Your
when your
uterus?
placenta comes out, it
Okay.
leaves a wound the size of a dinner plate,
Right.
and that's
That's
what's
what was
bleeding.
bleeding.
Yeah. And normally after birth, if your uterus is not too tired, the baby latching onto your boob stimulates oxytocin, which stimulates your uterus to contract to stop the bleeding.
Oh.
But my uterus was tired.
Yeah. You just was like, girl, we need a break.
Yeah. So they started Pitocin, which is, synthetic oxytocin to like make my uterus contract to stop bleeding.
Which sometimes they don't they give it to people before?
To induce labor. Yeah, because it makes
Yeah.
your uterus contract.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Holy cow. So are you like knowing that you're hemorrhaging? Are they telling you this
I
stuff? Or
saw it.
you saw it? Yeah.
And Jenna said that
Like
the
you saw blood
OB,
gushing out of you.
I could feel it too. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it in the mirror. And then Jenna said she saw the OB stick maybe like her whole hand up to scoop out the clots because it was so bad. It was traumatic, Jenna. Like,
Look at my face.
I
At
know.
least I can stay here now and talk to you
And
about
Jenna
this.
was exhausted. So, like, we're deliriously tired at that point. We haven't slept since. I haven't slept more than 3 hours since birth.
And it's what are we in now? 6 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow.
It was insane. And that's my birth story.
Wait. We can't stop at scooping blood out of the vagina.
That's the end. I was not pregnant anymore.
Okay, so you got stitched up right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then where is Maeve? Like, is she with
She's
Jenna?
on me.
She's on you while they're stitching you?
Yes, I asked for
Okay.
golden hour and like
Okay.
no bath. So she's just on
Yes.
me and she looks bewildered. She looked as bewildered as I felt. She didn't cry immediately, but her eye.
When did you like really be able to be like, oh, this is her?
Not till like 9 p.m. that night.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was
Cause
six
you
in
were
the morning.
still
She was
in
born
the
at 6 in
like,
the morning. Yeah.
okay. And then finally, like around 9, you're like, oh, Maeve, okay, you're here.
Yeah, because it's like you move rooms, and I was really
Oh,
like my hemoglobin dropped 4 points. It's a lot of blood to lose. So I was
yeah.
like really lethargic and getting up
Mm.
out of bed. They want you to pee, and you're so swollen. And then I almost passed out because I lost so much blood. It's like there's just a
Oh,
lot of other things happening.
ugh.
Yeah, I was yellow, like brink of death. I looked like I was half dead.
Who wants to have
Right? Who
kids?
wants to go through birth?
Y'all, I'm reading these texts from her and
Really
I am
selling
like
it
dying through the whole
and really
process.
selling it. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. Well, I think when you texted me, maybe that like the water had broke or something, maybe that there was meconium in it. And I think I remember you saying, see, like as an intuitive, you're always like, when people say things, you're like, I wonder why they said that.
Hmm.
And you're like, the only reason we would go to the hospital, the only
Only
reason
reason.
is that. And I was like, I wonder if Maeve's like, all right,
Go to the hospital.
like, let's go. Right. Because I think you said that, you know, in a way, because you had maybe, I don't want to say like, not no idea, but like maybe a
Yeah.
different idea of like birth and
Hmm.
how it actually was, like, you were really glad that you ended up there and that you had all that support and that you know, I mean, even
Yeah.
though it wasn't that ideal vision that you had, right? It's
Yeah.
okay.
And ultimately, it was a good thing that we went because I would have been a hospital transfer anyway. If
Yeah.
there's no way I would have been able to do that at home.
Do you think having had a hospital birth, like, and I know you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but like, does it totally like change your thought about home birth? Like, do you
I will be getting an epidural if I have another
at home
one. No, in the
in the
hospital.
hospital? Okay. So home birth, we're like, we're done because we
I don't
want
know.
that
My
medicinal
midwife,
support.
yeah, my midwife was like, "Well, now that you know what it's like and you know what to expect, I could totally see you having a home birth for the next one." And I was like, "I don't know."
Absolutely not.
Now that I know what it feels like.
Yeah, I think, you know, we definitely need to stop like saying that one is better than the other, right? In
Right.
terms of like births, epidural or not, natural whatever.
Quote unquote.
Like the spirit babies are just kind of saying like, what are they going to say about that? Thank you. They're kind of saying that us humans have a design, like you said, about like the everything working together, things
Mm-hmm.
processing oxytocin, all that good stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
is a design, but that doesn't mean that there can't be other ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're saying like, don't get so caught up on the design. It's kind of more like a blueprint. It's kind of like a factory
It's a variation of birth. Yeah.
factory offering. They're saying like everybody comes with this,
Mm-hmm.
but then not everybody uses it or not. It doesn't
It doesn't always go that way.
go that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
They're saying you picked a different package.
I picked the worst package. Don't pick what I picked.
Don't go shopping with Natalie.
No. And it took a couple weeks after to like have a final session to like tie up the package, the healing package that I did with Lindsay,
Yeah.
for it like all to kind of come together and like this is why this happened and this is why it had to be this way. And so now I can understand why it happened and I've accepted it, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it wasn't traumatic. I don't have rose-colored glasses about it. Like it was the worst night of my life and I maintain that.
And it's so interesting that like the worst night of your life can give you probably one of the best things of your life, right?
It's what they say. Yeah.
She is so cute, you guys.
My heart is so fat. I love her so much. Like
Every picture I get, I want to eat her.
she's so cute.
She has these looks.
Oh,
A lot
very
of them are
cynical.
like, what the fuck?
Very cynical. Yeah.
She's like, what is this planet? Where am I?
Mhm.
What are we doing here? But I just can't wait to like see her grow up and,
I
you know, all the
know.
cool things that she's gonna do in this world. And
And the $1 million question is like, oh, was it worth it?
Well,
Here's
what's
my
it worth
answer.
it? Okay.
If I had not met her, if I did not know her, no. Having met her, yes.
You like met her like on Earth, you mean, or like even
Knowing her,
before?
yeah, being around her energy, like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
obviously the best thing that's ever happened to us. But if I hadn't met her, solely going off of like pregnancy and my birth experience, fucking terrible. Hated it. Hated every
Yeah.
second. Not worth it.
Do not recommend.
You really have to be committed to having kids for it to be worth it. This is a choice I made. I chose this.
Yeah. And well, and I think like as you were telling everything, and much more detail to me, which we can talk about, it just made me have so much empathy for all the people that have babies,
Oh my God,
the
yeah.
birthing people and their partners,
I
right?
had
Or
no
if sometimes they
idea.
don't have partners, but just, I'd always ask like, how's Jenna doing? And how are you guys doing? And all this kind of stuff, because it's so much and it's a
Mhm.
lot. And I don't think I've ever been this close to a friend having a baby, right? Like you and we
Mhm.
talked to Maeve. I talked to Maeve
For
a lot.
years. For years,
And
yeah.
then, like to like now have her here, like it's so cute. I don't know.
I know. She's so, it makes your heart really fat. We have fat hearts.
So cute.
I know. I do love her a lot. Might do it again now that I know what to
Do it
expect
again.
and I don't have rose colored glasses about it. Like it'd be a fully conscious decision going into it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. There's time.
Yeah. And they're just kind of saying to me, like, each birth is different, right?
Mhm. It could be a home
maybe
birth next time.
maybe I was gonna say, like, maybe the other energy babies that are around you aren't as intense as Maeve.
Right. And
Don't
maybe
have
it
as
will
big of
be
a thing to
quick
do. Maybe
because
it
your body
will.
knows what it's doing. Maybe I
Yeah.
will, maybe labor's not so bad when you go into it naturally and it doesn't have to be augmented. Like
Yeah.
Lindsay said, my
Keep an open
story, my
mind.
birth story is not unique,
Hmm.
but it is unique to me because of the
Hmm.
energies that were coming through. She said basically, like, I had a baby for the collective.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go, guys. You're welcome. She brought in like new earth codes and all of this stuff. So, like, it sounds like a familiar story for other moms, but it was not to say more traumatic than that for me, but at the same time to say that it was more traumatic and more painful because of the energies that were coming in with it.
Yeah. And like, when you sign up to do collective work, just remember that. Sometimes,
sometimes,
no, I'm
sometimes it
saying,
hurts. Yeah.
I was gonna say, sometimes those big experiences may be more intensified if you're
Yeah.
doing collective work.
Hmm.
And my guides are saying, how do you know if you're doing collective work? Just ask us.
Yeah. Just ask the guys. I have a session with
Yeah.
Jess. You can have a session with me when I
Yeah.
open them. Yeah.
And what are you thinking for sessions? Are you thinking like, did this bring anything new to what you want to offer?
I mean, it shifts your priorities, especially with
Yeah.
the way that our current systems are set up. Like, if I
Yeah.
did go back to work, my whole paycheck would be going to paying for childcare
Mm-hmm.
for somebody
Mm-hmm.
else to raise my child when I could just not work and raise my child.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm going to reevaluate in March with the astrological new year.
Yes.
Hmm.
But right now we're staying cozy in the
We are.
wintertime,
Hmm.
Capricorn season.
I know. Everybody take like a deep breath. Don't internalize that trauma. Like, release
I
that from your energy
know.
systems. That's not yours. It's mine.
I have my selenite with me,
Release
you
it. Yeah.
guys. I'm like so protected right now because maybe I can share my little part of the story.
Hmm.
Did I already talk about this or did we talk about this before we started recording?
I don't know. What is it?
About how I was experiencing your texts about a
Oh, no,
baby?
it was before.
Okay. So my little experience was as Natalie was texting me this horror show and this worst night of her life,
Fiction show.
I was so triggered.
Hmm.
And I was multiple things. One, I was like so sad for you because you texted me this picture of the hospital room and I was like, oh no, like we didn't
Oh,
talk about this. We didn't plan
no.
for this. I'm like, we
We.
I'm in the collective. I'm like,
It
oh
was a
no,
team. Yeah.
it was a team. But I was just like, oh my God. And so I was just like, and I work with so many clients whose birth plans go awry for various reasons. And it's such a big grieving moment. And so to
It's
hear
grief.
you having
Mm.
to grieve that and also then give birth and go to the hospital, like, like you don't have a lot of time. And, you're texting these updates, whatever. and I'm getting all this info and you're telling me about the birth. And I was like, no, like she should be so happy. And she tried so many times for Maeve and oh my God. And I was like having like, I could not handle it. And I was like, I was telling her, like, I would be like texting her back, like, be compassionate. Okay, listen to her feelings. Okay, empathize with her that this is her experience and it can be the worst. But I was like, inside, I was like, no. So then I went and did my own work on that to release that. And had a lot of stuff from my own childhood and my own lineage, just around having babies and birth and all this kind of stuff. And probably some of my own fears around pregnancy and birth and everything. And so now when you told your story again, I could sit and just be like, okay, a lot more empathic. But yeah, if you get triggered by Natalie's story, if you feel some stuff, I highly recommend, and you're on the path to have children, or even have already had your kiddo, right? Do some work on that, because the birth is the portal. It's such a place. Like when I look at people's timelines, a lot of people put stuff in the birth, mother, daughter, father, son kind of energy to do. Like you learn so much, right, from these relationships and experiences. So check that out if that is make you feel that way, you know.
And if
We
you
can
had a
we can work on
traumatic
that.
birth, get it out of your
Yeah,
body. It like stopped my milk from coming in. Like I had to do some psyche to like really process what happened physically so my milk could come in.
I love that. I love that. I love that you have those resources.
Me too.
I know.
Whew.
Oh, I know. I'm feeling tingly.
Yeah,
Okay, how are we doing on time?
I think that's about it
I
for
think
this.
we're
Now that
good,
we've all
right?
thoroughly traumatized our audience, I think we'll wrap up.
Well, I think too, like you telling it this time, and this is interesting. I'm curious your thoughts, but like maybe you've processed it a bit more. So like now when you're telling it, it's not as intense.
It's neutral energy around
It
it.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you were telling me, it's like, imagine like one of your besties is like, "Wah!
Yeah.
Wah!" And I'm just like, oh my God,
What
like,
do I, how can
what
I
can
hold
I
you?
do? I'm like, oh, so like 10 states away. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, and I'm like, you know, you can't really call people and be like, how you doing? You know, oh my God, it was just, that was hard.
Yeah.
And oh, just like, I don't know, like, I don't want people to experience that. But what that taught me was like, that's Natalie's experience. That's her and me. Like she's got to go through that. And you know, like as a friend, you're gonna help her like make it out, right? Like she's gonna come out the other side because she's got love and support. And because she can say it was a shit show. It was
It was
awful.
awful.
Because I would say that's not a, you know, here we are, not so what is our podcast called?
No such thing as normal.
Like not so normal, whatever. Like that is the societal collective expectation. And I think what they're showing me, what you did was it's okay for
For it to
you when you
suck.
tell your birth stories to say that it sucked, that you didn't like it, that it hurt, that it was painful, that it didn't go the way you want, that you cried, that all like that is all okay. It's all welcome here.
It
And
is.
like if that's part of your story, like fuck yes. Okay. Like it's your story. And like sure, we
Right.
want a like nice little bow on it, but you know, like we don't always get that. We
No.
get better. We get better.
I know. It is what it is. And I've processed it and there's neutral energy around it. And I've accepted that it happened. And it was ultimately for the best.
Yeah.
Even though that's not what you would envision for the best.
Yeah. I think that's such a great perspective. I think that's a good place to close this
Yeah.
chat today.
2022, exhausting. Tune back in for 2023.
You know, people have like the words of the year. Be like, you should do like the
It was
real words of the year
exhausting.
at the end. So what your word was like positivity or whatever. Goal, reach, climb. Yeah. And then like,
Yeah,
what was your real world? Exhausted.
it was
But that's
exhausting.
okay because we got to
Yeah.
rest. We're coming into the new year nice and easy.
Nice and easy. Lots of rest happening.
Lots of rest. And we'll see you when we see you.
Yeah. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.